you can, and feel free to research and fact check me, right? If you
Right.
look up how LSD works, how acids, mushrooms, marijuana, all that stuff works, the THC, the terpenes, the psychedelics, all of that stuff, it doesn't necessarily add anything into your body. It just tells your body what to elevate, what to suppress. Make more of this. So, sure, the chemical is the thing, but what you're feeling is your body responding to the toxin, the toxic being whatever drug of choice you have. And I've even heard from a medical doctor, his prognosis was anything that puts you in an altered state of mind artificially is a toxin.
Mm.
And I was like, what? He said, if it's weed, he said, even if it's food, he said, when you get the itis, he said, you're not even supposed to get the itis with food. He said, the itis is your body's negative response to whatever you just ate.
You're talking about the meat sweats?
Meat sweats, well, the itis is basically just like when you eat, let's say you eat like a huge Thanksgiving dinner and all you want to do is eat something sweet and go to sleep.
Yeah.
All of that is a negative response in the body. That's the body getting, literally, Google this, fact check me. That's the body getting inflamed, that's your digestion slowing down, and that's your body telling you, hey, stop eating. Sit, let us digest this food and don't do anything. The reason why you crave sugar is because your blood pressure, not your blood pressure, your blood sugar went so high in the middle of you eating all that junk, and then it crashes super fast. So it craves sugar and tells you to get something sweet so it can elevate itself again. But because actual artificial sugar, like cane sugar and other carbohydrates that are insulin spiking, because sugar is because it releases dopamine in the brain, you feel better longer after you eat that. But
Mm.
when you're on a natural blood sugar decline from eating just regular carbohydrates that aren't laced with sugar or anything like that, your body's response is going to tell you, hey, you're hungry or you need something sweet. All of that is just your insulin sensitivity being ruined, number one. Number two, your body telling you to raise your blood sugar again. So, and I'm sorry, I'm going off on a tangent, right? But
No, no, you're
all that
good.
to say this, all that to say this, with the drugs, the psychedelics, marijuana, and all that stuff too, because I've been able to go into that realm in tandem with wanting to be closer to God and not doing it artificially. And I'm not talking, I didn't smoke the day before, I didn't drink the night before. I was a child experiencing this. And I think I felt it one time when I was in my late teens. But I haven't really tried since then because I don't have the time to get deep in praise and worship like I used to when I was younger. Church is the place for that. But in that moment, man, it was like I felt something that was just so different. I saw colors that had no name. I didn't see figures, but what I was after was, hey, God, if I want to be in your presence and I want to see your face. I think the Bible describes, and I didn't know this until years later, I think the Bible describes the presence of God as a throne of fire or something of that sort. I think.
So do you think when we're talking about these DMT patients and they're all seeing like the same beings and they're
Mhm.
seeing like this other world, do you think that there's clearly something spiritual to that? And with that, like, what do you think that they're seeing? Because I am of the personal belief that, especially after hearing you talk about it, it makes, and I've kind of always had this thought that you're kind of unlocking something in your mind that you're not supposed to, and you're
Yep.
gaining some kind of knowledge and some kind of wisdom that you're not meant to know just yet, similar to how Adam and Eve ate from the apple and gained knowledge that from themselves that they weren't supposed to eat. well,
Right.
we're supposed to know. So is this artificial inducing in this spiritual realm? Do you suppose that it is something evil on the other side?
Yes, and I can explain what I mean. Um, Lucifer was an angel of beauty, light, and all these other things, right? Like he was probably, and I think this is according to the Bible. Again, Google me, fact check me, hold on. I think according to the Bible, he was so close to God, which was the cause for his pride.
Uh, the way I understand it is that he was kind of the chief of worship, and so
Yeah,
in by nature of that he was beautiful, and he somehow got an image of his own beauty, and it sowed pride in him.
right. But regardless, you have to imagine, even when if we don't like pull full biblical context, you have to imagine if you're the chief architect of praise and worship in heaven, bro, you are probably very, for lack of a better word, like I'm not saying you're on God's level, but dang, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're on a level of
Yeah.
beauty that even the other
Like,
angels are not on.
correct. He probably wasn't like the rest. Not even close. If I had to guess, right? But with that, God again would have made him in a similar image of himself because that's how he does all things by perfect design or in his image. That's it. It's the only two ways that he creates something,
Hmm.
and that's according to the Bible. Um, I would imagine that Lucifer was probably made again in the image of God, and Lucy might have got a little carried away with how he saw himself. Um,
This is why
but
he's the most
with that,
beautiful, Lucifer, not the smartest.
yeah, right. Saying that to say this, there have been multiple people who've had experiences where they go to hell or they encounter the devil. A lot of them say it was never a serpent looking thing or a dragon looking thing. A lot of them say whatever representation of the devil they had was the most beautiful thing or the greatest temptation that they've ever had. So I imagine that if I can tap into a realm artificially, not because I'm seeking one individual thing, but because I just want to trip out, I do something that forces my mind or unlocks my mind to go to another dimension. If I didn't seek that through God, but I still ended up there, who do you think is going to be waiting for me to get there? Especially when I'm in a vulnerable state and I've never seen anything like this before, but I am looking for something. Who do you think would capitalize on that opportunity the
Right.
most?
Well,
If you had to get,
it's the atheist dilemma, right? Like e- everyone worships something, and so when
Mhm,
you say I don't believe in anything, like I don't worship anything, like the devil's gonna make himself comfortable there, whether you know it
mhm.
or not.
Yeah,
And well, so then the question it kind of naturally begs of like why is it that so many people go on these trips on psychedelics and it leads them towards God because they see that like beautiful thing and they're like, "Oh my goodness, there is something more than me out there and it is Christianity. I'm going to seek that out." Is that just like a failing on the devil and he just like capitalized on
it.
the wrong person?
I can't speak to every individual experience, but what I tell you is a lot of people say they see God, but Lucifer also sees himself as God, or at least he wants to.
Right.
That's number one. Number two, um, I've rarely heard, and I have heard it. There was only one video I saw where the guy um, did a trip, but Jesus, he said literally, Jesus intercepted his trip. And he said Jesus intercepted his trip. Huh?
I was chuckling at that. That's badass. Jesus came in like a bulwark and just blocked it off. Fucking
Yeah.
just tanked all the evil for this dude. That's I don't know. The image of I when you said that, I imagined like Jesus like flying through the air like Superman with a big ass shield, and he just
Mm,
like tanks this like evil energy for this dude.
yeah.
That was what I was chuckling at. It kind of that's the image I had when you said that.
I feel that. But the guy said, um, when he was in the middle of his trip, Jesus cut him off before he was supposed to reach the destination, or and these are his words, before he was supposed to reach the his desired point in the trip. Said any other time he's done this and done the drug, he gets to a certain point where he's looking for a certain feeling when he gets to a certain thing, and then he turns back. He called it navigating his high. He said Jesus intercepted him and told him, when you go down this road, there's no turning back to me. But he said when Jesus was having this conversation with him, they were sitting in the right hand of God. He said when he looked over to his left, he saw a different version of himself, and that's all he said.
Hmm.
But the different version of himself was waiting for him to join him on the other side. Which I my mind was blown at the story. But he said when he was talking to Jesus, he said Jesus looked a lot like him, but he said he believes personally that Jesus would appeal to anyone, as in when they look for him, they'll find themselves in him. That's how he described it. And then he said, when he was talking to Jesus, Jesus said, "So I'm glad you made the right choice." He said, he said, we probably shouldn't do that again. And he said, when Jesus said we shouldn't do that again, he said, he felt just from that statement, he said that Jesus felt everything that he was feeling. And he said the reason why it brought him closer to Jesus was because he understood the sacrifice at that moment, in that specific moment. He understood what it was all for.
Right.
So while people say they're closer to God, I hear that, but I don't specifically hear them say Jesus Christ or the Word of God. I have in the past, but I don't hear
Hmm.
that part too often. But the God that they think they might be following could indeed not be the God of the Bible, not be Jesus Christ. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's interesting. You put it like that. There's this dude I found him very recently. His name is Joshua Wright. It's
Okay.
Joshua Wright Guided on Instagram. And
Mm,
he's from everything that I can see, he is a filmmaker, but he does these little skits and they're like they're horror skits by all accounts, but they're horror skits in this not in like the typical like horror movie horror. It's like the story that's being presented is like this dude will die and he'll be talking to Jesus, and Jesus will like all of a sudden make a comment about like, "Oh no, I'm the Jesus you follow." And he's like, "Wait a second, what do you mean the Jesus I follow?" And Jesus is then like, "Yeah, I'm the Jesus that you want to hear about, the one that you heard about in church that accepts everybody and doesn't want any worship and will just bend over backwards for you." And then like the Jesus character will start to like flash in black. Oh, it's so freaking cool. I gotta be honest, it is he does such good work, and it's so scary to think about. But that's
yeah.
when you said that like they're following God, but they're not actually following the word, they're following their version of it. It reminded me of that. And I watched some of these skits and it like brings fear like a real fear, and
That's the
it's
black dude.
so good. Yes, yeah, black dude.
Yeah, I've seen his videos. He does good work.
Yeah, I really like his stuff. And it's funny, I'll go through the comments sometimes, and people will like actually get tricked by his Jesus character. Be like, this isn't actually Jesus, and then you'll see in the replies of like, oh, I watched the rest of the video. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
But
but
it's
nah, man, like that. Bro, that's all stuff to think about. You know.
right. Well, so then going back to like the original question, which was yoga, and how it's channeling like a spiritual something that isn't God and therefore is evil. Do you think do you think you can take yoga and make it Christian? Or do you think it's like and I don't mean like the Western yoga of like core strength training and stretching. I'm talking like the actual like the spiritual journey of like Eastern yoga, and instead of concentrating on like I don't know who's some of the gods. I think Ishnu is one of them. Or I say gods, I quote unquote gods.
No, I know what
Instead
you
of
mean.
channeling like his energy, kind of coming into it with a idea of like channeling Jesus Christ's energy while you're doing this like spiritual practice, or do you think it's like just innately cooked?
So I think it's innately like cooked. And I say that because you can take anything and try and do it with the right intention, right? Like I think that's possible. But I would just say the Bible is clear. Like God wants your worship. Jesus wants your love. Like they want the same things from you. So you don't have to practice yoga to show that when your praise is enough, number one. Number two, um, yoga's design was for false gods and it was meant to deceive. By it, that's the whole nature of it. So even just by trying to do something with good intent with it, I think it's pointless. I'm not saying I don't think you can't do it, nor am I saying God will frown upon it because I don't know. However, he might just coin you when you get to heaven. I don't know. You know what I mean? But I don't see it having a real point, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Not to,
Well,
I'm not shitting on your idea or anything like that. I just would ask to what end?
right. Well, and it's not even like an idea of mine. It was more just like I just wanted to know your opinion on that. And the
Mhm,
Bible talk like when the Bible talks about fornication,
mhm.
I a lot of people get it confused with like the sexual fornication.
Yeah.
That
It's
is
talking about
there,
worship too. Mhm.
but the other half of it is like doing practices of other religions. So it's definitely frowned
Yeah.
upon. Um, but yeah, I wonder. I guess is the line. I guess we'll use yoga as an example because we're talking about it.
Mhm.
Is the line in the sand your intention? It's like I'm doing yoga right now because I want to stretch out my muscles and I want to kind of put my body in a state of relaxation and I want to strengthen my core versus I'm doing it to channel some kind of energy. Is that the line in the sand, do you think?
Could be, but to the person who would say that, I was like, then just stretch, brother. Like, you
Well,
know
I
what I
guess
mean? Like,
I
just,
yeah, and I guess when I say yoga in like the Western sense,
yeah,
what I really mean by that is like some sort of structured, you could call it a structured workout where you're doing these stretches in a specific way to cover all bases. And I mean the same way that like we would plan a workout session, right? You might say, well, I'm doing this exercise first for this reason, I'm doing this exercise second for this reason, I'm doing this exercise third, and so on and so forth. I mean, when I think of Western yoga, I think it's just like the same thing. It's a workout, but where the intent is not to strengthen the muscle, it's to stretch the muscle. And so you're going to do it in a orderly fashion that makes sense. That's
No,
what
I
I
hear
would
what you're
call
saying.
Western yoga.
I hear what you're saying, right? But at the same time, though, it's like, and I'm just now getting this. It's like if you're doing it and you're not calling it yoga, then don't let it be called yoga. Don't let it be yoga.
Hmm.
Let it have its own separate space because the two shouldn't be confused and they should be far and few in between.
Right.
Yoga is yoga, just
Yeah.
because and ultimately it's a if not this, then that situation. Or, hey, you're practicing yoga, but you're not worshiping other gods. Well, if yoga is by design made to practice other gods, then you are practicing other gods. Or if you're
Right.
stretching, but giving God the Father your praise and not doing yoga, then you're not doing yoga and you're giving God the Father the praise.
Okay.
Like
So
you see what I'm saying?
yeah, so I your kind of thesis is that the word holds a specific power slash meaning to it, and we need to discern between the two.
Yeah, like the word is the intent,
Okay.
and the intent is going to be some of the results you get. If not this, then that. And I think that formula applies to a lot when it comes to following the Bible.
Right. So another question I've been kind of wrestling with, in the same vein is like Halloween. We got Halloween, and I mean, what day is it? Friday? Is that when Halloween is? Yeah,
Like Saturday or
Friday.
something.
So, and I've heard both sides of the aisle. Christians being like, Halloween is inherently devil worship. Occultists use it to make sacrifices, and it's known throughout history to be kind of a spiritual time in the world of all these cultures. You shouldn't partake in it. And I've also seen the other side. It's like, and their argument is like, dude, it's kids dressing up in silly little costumes and roaming the streets with their parents and having a good time, and maybe you'll watch a scary movie. Like, it's not that deep. Where do you
Right.
fall on that?
So I've had this question so many times in the last week, bro. It's crazy. I'm not even kidding with you, bro. I've had this question so many times this week. It comes down to this for me, right? Um, yeah, it's cute to see you kids dressed up as these animals and Disney, like I mean, I get it. Yes, it's cute. The original intent behind Halloween, which do you know what it is? I'm sure you know it's demonic and all that stuff, but do you know what the intent was?
I mean, it depends on your culture, cause like it's kind of fascinating that like you have a bunch of different cultures spread out throughout the world that all seemingly unanimously agree that this time of year, like late October, early November, is some kind of like weakening of the divide between the physical and spiritual world. So like there's a lot of different origins. As far as like the Western version, I know it comes from the Celts and their like day to worship the dead. I know I think it's the Anglicans had a similar thing that was more Christian related and more pointed towards getting some kind of spiritual guidance with the saints. The Mayans had their own thing. Uh, the Egyptians had their own thing too. I think
Yeah.
in Asia they have a similar like holiday where like for them it's like you're more likely to be attacked slash guided from like evil and good spirits. There's a bunch of
So,
it's very fascinating to see that like
but here's the
everyone
bottom
around the
line,
world is in agreement that this is a thing.
100%. But let me give you the bottom line, right?
Hmm.
The bottom line is this: if the entire world can collectively agree, like October 31st. Let's say they don't call it Halloween, but they say that it's not a quote unquote good day,
Uh-huh.
right? In America, it's ghost schools, goblins, vampires. In other countries, they say, hey, today's a day for bad spirits, watch out. That tells me the world collectively feels something spiritual on October 31st. Depending on where you are, will determine um, whether or not that is going to be good spiritual influence or bad. The majority of the world, it's majority of the world, they're celebrating bad things. So,
Yeah.
and there's power in numbers too. So, if the bulk of America is um, sold on the idea that Halloween is a day to celebrate dark fantasies and all this other stuff, and the rest of the world agrees, like it's inherently bad, and they're channeling that um, dark energy, but they're trying to market it as fun. But it's all the same. It's still the same bad. So sure, kids don't do it and eat the candy and go trick or treating because they want to do demonic shit. But trick or treating was, and you can research all of this again. The term trick or treat was a phrase used by witches in the old country to lure kids.
Mm.
You either be deceived or you get a treat, which God only knows what a witch would give to a child as a treat.
Uh, well, if you read the old Hansel and Gretel, I don't remember a whole lot about the original story. I know like the Disneyified version, but the original story, I think she was like the witch was giving them like poisonous sweets. Or no, there wasn't poisonous sweets. It was sweets in general to make them fat, and then it would and then like she would poison them to like kill and eat the kids. Is I think the isn't that the like original Hansel and Gretel?
I mean, it could be. It sounds like it could be.
I think it is.
Yeah. But at any rate, collectively we can decide it ain't a good day.
Well,
Um,
and the other thing too is like, is it? Because for every culture, I don't think it's like a bad day. Like Mexico's Day of the Dead is more of like a
it's more Halloweeny than Halloween. I know what you're saying.
well, I wouldn't say more Halloweeny. I'd say it's more of like a celebration of the people that we knew in their life, and kind of more of like a remembrance of them. And so inherently, it's not. And I'm sure there's other practices as well when it comes to like the demonic and the spiritual, but I think it's kind of the
Uh,
crux of the holiday.
The
So is
Bible
that
speaks on that too,
does it?
directly.
What does it say?
It's called necromancy.
So well,
You ever
so
heard of it?
is that biblical necromancy? Is like honoring the people who have like in your life that have died?
It's not honoring. There's no problem with remembering or honoring.
Right.
But from what I've been told, during the Day of the Dead, families go out to the grave sites of their loved ones and try and communicate with them.
Yeah, you are. I kind of forgot about that. Yeah, that's
So,
fair.
so that tells me, right? Like, if people are doing it today, a lot more of them had to be doing it back in the day, and they chose one specific day to do it.
Yeah.
So, inherently, it's like, hey, while you may be participating in innocence today, the practice of what you're celebrating was and is rooted in evil.
Right. So it's probably just best to avoid it.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at necromancy, which is the communication with um, evil spirits, right? But the Bible uses a word called familial spirits, which are basically evil spirits taking the form of your dead relatives or people you knew.
Yeah.
The act of it, the practice of it is called necromancy.
Right. Right.
So if it wasn't necromantic or whatever the word is, if it wasn't that, why would you dress up as corpses? That's what bones are.
Yeah.
That's what bones are, right? They're
Oh, I mean,
corpses.
that's what like all of it is like zombies,
Hmm.
vampires, bones,
Yeah.
ghosts. Like
So we've commercialized demonic activity. We've normalized necromancy in one or two holidays.
right.
We've undercut the true meaning of trick or treating. Did you know carving a pumpkin was to show that you sacrificed someone? And the reason they
Um.
carved a pumpkin in the olden days was to put their face into it?
So I knew some of that.
Yeah.
Like I knew kind of the I knew that carving the pumpkin had like demonic and witchcraft origins. I didn't know
Mm.
exactly what it was.
Yeah, but I mean, it is not even remotely good. Like it's all so bad,
That's
you know?
interesting.
It's all so bad. So I look at the holiday as a whole. To fully answer your question, I look at the holiday as a whole. I'm like, bro, it's bad. If you and again, kids are not thinking like that, but the parents should know, especially parents in the church. I don't understand it. It's like I'll
Well,
talk to certain church women, or I have talked to some in the past. When it comes to sex before marriage, oh hell no, it's the worst thing ever. But you openly celebrate Halloween. You
yeah.
openly do things on Christmas that the Bible tells you not to do. Did you know in Corinthians it tells you specifically verbatim not to cut down a tree in the woods and put ornaments on it?
I was not aware of that.
Brother, it says it verbatim.
Well, and it's
It's
like the I'm not even gonna lie to you. The whole commercialization of Christmas.
mhm.
I mean not just Christmas, but like all of these holidays, like Easter, Christmas, Halloween. The commercialization of all of these holidays is like it see I don't. It's like the devil's greatest trick because like even the
100%.
most faithful Christians and like the most like just like the most hardcore like Quaker American Christians that you can think of are still doing this stuff and it's still
Yep.
like and they still I mean maybe not nowadays but back in the day like a lot of these Christians would like the whole thing with like Santa Claus is weird. It's like this fat man is breaking into your house and eating your food and he's giving you presents. That's weird. That's a weird thing.
So I think the chapter in specific was in the book of Jeremiah, right? But even that, it's like, bro, the Bible doesn't say Jesus was born on December 25th. The Bible provides a location on December 25th. Would have been too freaking cold to have a baby outside. You'd have
Yeah.
died.
Yeah.
So if you know Christmas doesn't celebrate the actual birth of Christ, what are you celebrating and why? If you
Well, so
know, say what?
well I do have quite a bit of historical knowledge on that. And so the history of it was in the early
Winter
days
solstice?
what?
Winter solstice?
Yeah, so it originates amongst the it wasn't Christians necessarily copying and like stealing from these like pagan holidays. It
Mhm.
was they were being persecuted. And so in order to kind of blend in with everybody, they switched up their holiday in that regard.
And I
And
mean, as a survival tactic, I get it, but
yeah.
we ain't there. We
Yeah, but
don't
it's
have to do that, and now we do it willingly.
true, but I think there's something to say for tradition as well. And it's also like it depending I guess depending on like how you celebrate it, it can be seen as like I can see a world in which Christmas for Christians is yes, is celebrating the birth of Christ, but it's also remembering like your church history and remembering that like Christians at one point were persecuted and they will be persecuted again and they are persecuted now. And so
Yeah.
I think having a holiday for that. I don't necessarily see that as like a what would you call it, a disqualifying factor on the holiday.
No, I get 100% what you're saying, right? And if that was the way Christmas was celebrated, hey, it's about togetherness. It's about honoring the days of which Christmas was prosecuted. Warning of those days that are coming again. If it's about those things, you're not even celebrating Christmas at that point. You're being in fellowship,
Yeah.
and you're using Christmas Day to fellowship. That I think perfect idea, right? But when you go get the Christmas tree, and I'm going to read the verse really quick. It said, "For the customs of the people are in vain, for one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workman with an axe. They deck it with silver and gold, they fasten it with the nails and the hammers, and it move not." And that's in Jeremiah,
Hmm.
So it tells you like, hey, it's in vain.
Yeah.
They describe the practice perfectly. But when I look at our vein, it's literally telling you it's pointless to do it.
Dude, that's
And
so.
it's
Oh my goodness. That is the. Oh my goodness. It gives me shivers thinking about how the devil most certainly made this on purpose.
for sure. And I'll take it a step further, right? The Bible rarely speaks of things in clarity. You usually got to read it, reread it, translate it, digest it, define some stuff, and then you have an understanding. Brother, that's verbatim.
Yeah.
It is explicit in the description. It is
Yeah.
explicit. And that's just a Christmas tree in the practice. We're not talking about the vanity that goes into it. We're not talking about how it fucks up and corrupts the culture because kids expect gifts and expect money and expect whatever it is because it's just Christmas.
Yeah.
But brother, I could pick apart Christmas. I could pick apart Valentine's Day. I could pick apart Easter. Easter's one of the worst.
It is. Well, Valentine's Day, I've never understood Valentine's Day because it's like, oh, it's a special day with like you and your spouse. And it's like, isn't every day supposed to be special with your spouse?
Well, that's just called thinking like a man, because I understand that. But biblically, not even biblically, because it doesn't even speak on that in the Bible. Historically, that day was reserved for groupies and sex, and men would get drunk, and like it
Yeah.
was observed as basically a day of debauchery.
Yeah. Well, I do think Saint Valentine did get beheaded on that day, if I'm not mistaken.
And then they fucked right after.
Yeah. Well, I realize now our mission needs to be reforming Christian culture. We need to start this movement. And I think this is a good place to start because I didn't tell you this because I'm not going to lie. You were on a roll and I didn't want to interrupt you, but I've been recording for the last 40 minutes.
Hey, brother, I'm all for it.
We were going good. So I was like, I'm just going to start recording and I'll tell him afterwards. This is like a perfect jump start to like a spiritual, like, because here's the thing. Like, even when I was like, even like a couple months ago when I would have considered myself a Christian, but I was very lukewarm in a lot of ways, and I thought this whole idea of like spiritual warfare was a thing, but maybe not so on not so, on such a grand scale. But
Yeah,
now, after Charlie Kirk's death, and like seeing how everyone reacted to that, and seeing like just the world going to hell,
yeah,
I realize now that spiritual warfare is a very real thing. And I
100%.
think the first thing to counteract that is to look at this stuff that us as Christians have just kind of taken as normal and dissecting them to their core and saying, is this normal? Is it biblical? Is this what God actually wants? And I think a perfect example of that is the Christmas tree.
Mm,
If it was normal, the Bible, if it was something that was like a nothing burger, the Bible wouldn't have anything about it. But Jeremiah says specifically that this is in vain and it's not good. And so then I said it in earlier. It is one of the greatest tricks the devil has pulled on Christians is getting the Christmas tree and ornamenting it up and putting the little baby Jesus with the wings on top and making it look all pretty. Like
hmm.
it's all in vain. It doesn't matter.
Not
Like
at
the
all.
what's important is you worshiping God and having fellowship on a day because I mean let's be honest, you should fellowship every day, but the reality of our
Mm,
everyday lives is like you can't do that every day. I mean even you and I um as easy as it is to hop in a Discord call and have these conversations, we still can't do this every day. You know, you have your family, you're working two jobs to make sure that they're squared away. You're doing what you need to do and you're busy a lot and I'm not as busy, but I still got stuff going on in my life where I can't have these kind of the stuff every day. And Christmas should be that like penultimate fellowship where you remember Christ and you remember sacrifice and you remember the generations before you especially, right? Like when Christians were being beheaded and hanged and crucified and persecuted, why did they put Christmas on December 25th? Well, it's to blend in so that they can survive and spread the word. You should be remembering that on Christmas Day. I at least that's I think so because without
I
them
agree.
you wouldn't be around.
I agree
And
100%.
so decommercializing all of this stuff and putting the word out there that as Christians like this spiritual warfare is very real and you need to have a serious look at your practices is I think very very important and this conversation has been very enlightening on that.
Yeah. Even more to that point too. Um, I don't know if it was in the Art of War. I don't know where I read it. I've heard it more than a few times, but you have to know your enemy to defeat it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's uh, very very well put. And I know I've kind of I do want to excuse me, I do want to talk about the occult eventually and some of
Yeah.
these like satanic practices that they engage in. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know when that would come out though. It's something I want to
So
dive into.
I'm all for that. I'm all for that, you know. And I think another part of that too is when we start doing research on that, and I've done a good bit of research on it, you're going to be surprised at how much of the normal things we do every day are dark in nature.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh, and
talking,
like, and I'm yeah, I'm in like full agreement with you
uh,
because I don't know like I'm very like normie in my occult knowledge in terms of like the Stargate in Iraq supposedly and
yeah,
some of the practices that the Nazis partook in because they were very into the occult. So
yep.
I'm very normie in that sense, but even with that, I already know that like there's a lot of stuff we do in our day to day lives that is just like normal,
I'm
or
gonna
not normal, but like it has been normalized and originates from like some dark places.
for sure. And I'm gonna touch on Easter real quick, and then I'll give you some other examples, right?
Right,
So Easter Sunday, right? Growing up, black churches, everybody is decked out on Sundays. I don't know how it was in the churches that you were around where you grew up, but Sunday was the day you coming in stunned,
right.
right? Women got on their church hats, bright dresses. Kids got on bright clothes. Little girls, bright dresses. Boys, bright suits, right? And then you have Easter egg hunts and all this other stuff that go in association with that. Do you know the meaning behind Easter? The pagan meaning.
Um, I know it was a fertility ritual where I forget which god, but you would have said, or a goddess rather. I
Mm,
know you would. There was some ritual that you would present to some goddess to make you more fertile, to have babies. And I know there is like some like degenerate orgies and sex somewhere in there, but that's the
yeah,
extent of it.
100% right. So, we're going off on theory here now, right? So I believe the birth of Jesus, what not the birth, the resurrection of Jesus, um, was in some point in history, and I'm willing to bet it was probably after Jesus. I'm willing to bet there was a celebration put in place specifically to vulgarize or secularize, I'll say, his resurrection. So, prime example,
Well, what
um,
what mythology does it originate from? Because I might have an answer on that. Do you
brother, I
know?
mean, probably Greek.
Is it Greek or is it Nordic?
I think so. Here's what's weird: Greek and Nordic mythologies are very similar.
Well, yes, but like when you look at Nordic mythology specifically,
Mm,
a lot of it is Christian influenced because the
mhm.
Poetic Edda, which is like the written down stories of the Nordic faith,
Yeah.
wasn't written until Christians started coming into Europe. And so when you look at like a lot of the stuff from the Nordic faith that Nordic pagans practice and believe in, like
Mhm.
Balder, for example, it
Yeah.
like that all of that comes from Christianity. And so I wonder if Easter had like a similar origin where it's like where it came from like a similar background where instead of Christians kind of taking the holiday for survival in the same way that they do with Christmas, it is instead uh, the originating faith took influence from Christianity.
Yeah. I'm willing to. I would put money down and say that it was influenced after Jesus. Um, but the name of the so-called goddess aside, right? It's a day to celebrate fertility. So the eggs are a form of symbolism in a woman's reproductive organs. She has eggs. Um, the bright colors, typically speaking, and I mean, I'm going to draw a more modern reference to it because I can't exactly recall the origin of it. But the bright colors, it's a form of peacocking. And you see that a lot with like prostitutes or at parties or, New Orleans, stuff like that. Even in nature, you know, the birds with the brightest, biggest feathers, they stand out, they get to mate, so that practice is, again, in essence, has nothing to do with Jesus. And you can draw references to that specific thing all day and show you how it's not in line with Jesus. um, the It's a celebration of fertility. It's a celebration of rebirth, the same way Jesus was um, raised again from death, or the way he resurrected from death. And all these things together, right? Like it's just a modern day Easter. So I wouldn't be surprised again if the trick of the enemy years after that was, well, hey, y'all are going to celebrate this while the Christians are celebrating that. And I believe in time the two merged.
Right.
And so they did away with the probably worst known things and kept the happy things in the modern
Right.
celebration.
The Easter bunny and hiding eggs and
Yeah,
going out and
bro. I mean,
looking for them and all that stuff. Yeah.
for sure. What do rabbits do all day?
I
They have
yeah.
they have
Yeah.
sex.
They
They
be
mate
fucking.
all day, bro.
Yeah.
All day. There's a reason why the Playboy bunny logo is a rabbit. You know what I'm saying? It is.
Yeah.
I'm serious. I'm serious.
No,
It's.
I mean, it's crazy because like this is all stuff that like I consciously know. I just have
Mhm.
never like given it much thought. But yeah, I mean, it all is very it all is I'm putting the puzzle pieces together. I'm like,
Mhm.
oh my goodness, yeah, this is all weird.
Yeah.
It's weird, all of it.
It's, bro. The truth is stranger than fiction, man.
Yeah, it's man, that's weird.
Yep. Yep. Even your birthday, man. Like having a day that's all about you, me, 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 me.
Oh my goodness, dude, don't even get me
Prideful.
started. It is so I came to this realization as maybe like a young teen. I was like, I
Mhm.
never like I would celebrate my birthday, but I'm gonna be completely honest with you. Even growing up, being like a adolescent, like a teenager, I remember back
Mhm.
then being like, I don't really care. Why? It's like I was born, yeah. Like I should celebrate. I guess I should celebrate the fact that like I'm still alive, and that's a good thing. But like all
Mhm.
this like extra stuff is kind of weird to me. And then like and when I got into adulthood, there was no like pressure to like celebrate my birthday. And now it's
Right.
just like another day for me. And
Yep.
I actively like repulse against like at work. I mean, you probably get this too. Like at work on your birthday, like they make a big deal about it and they will like decorate your desk and shit. And it's like, dude, I appreciate the thought, but I really don't feel comfortable celebrating myself at this capacity. It feels weird.
Mhm. So Geno Jennings, Pastor Geno Jennings, he made a reference to birthdays a while ago,
Hmm.
and it just hit my mind. He quoted something from the Bible. I don't remember the verse. I'm sure we can find it later, post it, yada yada, right? Um, but basically, he said the reason babies cry is because not only are they leaving the comfort of the womb, he said, but the Bible says we're born into a world of sin,
Yeah.
right? Um, what? And then he asked the question: why would you want to be being born into a world of sin?
Well, and I mean, I guess although I don't disagree with his point, I
Yeah.
do. That kind of begs the question of like, is your soul created at the moment of conception? I'm pretty sure the Bible does say your soul is created at the moment of conception, versus is your soul pre-made and like figuratively speaking, like on a conveyor belt waiting to get put down here. Um, but that I mean that is an interesting point though.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't I don't know how much I buy into that because like I said I'm pretty sure the Bible states that the act of like creating a soul is done at conception and not beforehand, but I could be wrong. I'd be willing to admit that I'm wrong on that if I'm proven otherwise. Leave in the
yeah, I
comments
have to,
down below. What do you know about that? I want to know your thoughts.
yeah, and I have to find the clip, and I want to read. I'll eventually want to read the actual Bible verse that he quoted. Is one thing about him, he doesn't. If it comes out his mouth, he's translating what he just read, and he's not translating it and distorting it. He has a reader reading the verse, and he repeats the words, then translate it the same way Anthony Mitchell does. You know,
Right.
Pastor Anthony Mitchell. Shout out to him. But in the same way that he does, he reads the verse, chops it up, makes sure you digesting it, and then he translates. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, back onto the topic though. You know, there's so many things that we celebrate and just do, and we never ask ourselves why. With Christmas, growing up for years, gifts, 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 gifts. Got about into my mid teenage years, kind of like you, and I said, well, I don't need anything. You know, sure, getting things are nice, But it got to the point where like I don't even know what to ask you for. Like I know video games are expensive. I know the consoles are expensive. I have good clothes that we got at the beginning of the school year, which back then it was August. So we're
Right.
talking December. Like, why do I need more clothes? I don't. Why do I need more stuff? I don't. And things just got really simple with the birthday, just like you. Got to a point where I was like, okay, sure, it's my birthday. But realistically speaking, the only person who may care about your birthday more than you is your mom, your parents.
That's true.
They,
Mom, I know you're
they,
watching this. Do you care more about my birthday than me? I'm curious. Leave in the comments down below. I'm kidding. Don't leave in the comments. Just text me. I'm curious to know your thoughts.
that's funny. But I mean, outside of them and hand select the family members, right? Like how important is your birthday really? And I'm not saying don't celebrate it, don't take time, but how important is it really? It's somebody's birthday every day.
Yeah. Well, and
You know what I mean?
you know what's funny? I every time I think about birthdays, my thought always goes to like the I don't even know I don't even have like a word for them, but they're like these like highly secular women who, and I've noticed this specifically with women. I don't think I've ever heard a guy say some shit like this. A birthday week or a birthday month.
Oh, oh
And
yeah.
I'm like, I hear shit like that. I'm like,
Oh
brother,
yeah.
or rather, sister, what are you need an entire week just for you? What are you talking about?
To do nothing. To
Yeah,
go to Miami and pay for overpriced drinks, to sit in a hotel,
and go
shake your
get
ass.
fucking ran through by some dude. Yeah.
Yeah. That's if you let them, right? And then go shake your ass
Yeah.
and then go back home and take 1,000 pictures
Oh god.
and
And then
post one after you get home so it looks like you're still on the road. Shout out to Drake. But
right. Well, not just that, but like you're doing all this stuff to gain all this attention from all these random men, and then you go home and you post all the pictures to go get a bunch of attention from random men online. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I've
yeah,
seen married women do shit like this. I'm like, what is going through your head right now? I'm genuinely curious. It
right.
seems so it seems so selfish and prideful. And that's not to say like I like if you want to use your birthday as an excuse to take some time off from work and go on vacation, sure, that's one thing. I don't think you really need an excuse to take a break from work and go on vacation, but like if that's how you do it, that's how you do it. But there's a clear difference between that and like what some of these other people are doing, which is like it's all about me.
Yeah,
What?
it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
It's diabolical. Some of the moves the women make out here is diabolical.
Yeah, and I mean I've seen dudes do it too. Luckily haven't seen a guy post about his birthday week or birthday month, but guys do it too. We get stupidly drunk, we turn into degenerates because it's our birthday. But I'm like, dog,
Yeah.
you you got work. You have a job. Go work.
You got work in the morning. Why are you out here
Yeah,
right
bro.
now?
Like why you doing? You know your birthday's over tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't. I look at it like what doesn't matter. No. If we're celebrating a birthday, we're celebrating life. Let it be the life of Jesus. You know, if we're trying to honor the dead, remember those who have died in the name of Christianity and died because of their faith.
Yeah.
Instead of trick or treating, treat yourself to a Bible verse. Don't be tricked by the devil. You know,
Bars.
yeah. And Christmas, Christ, Moss, more Christ. So I don't know. I'm just making stuff up now. But at the same time, right? Like all of these things, they're all so deceptive. And if you're not asking questions, you're not asking why. To your point about tradition earlier, I don't know if tradition is enough to do what we've been doing.
I
You know?
I think it depends on the tradition. Christmas being on the 25th, I think is fine. The tree
Mhm.
thing, I'm starting to think that no.
I'm sorry I
Uh,
ruined that for you, man.
I mean, dude, listen, I live by myself with a dog. I'm not putting up
Mhm.
no fucking Christmas tree anyway. Let's just be honest. I'm not doing
I hear
that
you.
anyway.
I hear you 100%. 100%. But, all that stuff is that's I guess that'll be a part two to
Yeah.
whatever you want to call this video. All right. Did you have anything you wanted to add on all the stuff we talked about? Are you good?
Uh, honestly, no. I mean, like I said, this conversation was extremely enlightening. Uh, really digging deep into all of the things that seems like this is a conclusion I'm drawn to that the devil has kind of tricked us into doing and we didn't even really pay
Mhm.
attention to. And it just affirms the idea that spiritual warfare is so real.
Yeah.
And I'm curious in the comments, leave the comments below. Where have you experienced spiritual warfare? What knowledge has been brought to your attention that kind of made you think along the same lines that I'm thinking right now? I'm very curious to hear, and I will probably end up talking about it in a future episode if you leave it down in the comments below. In any case, that's what I got for the night. Uh, you want to end off on anything, or no? You good?
Yeah. I'll make one more point real quick. So I think
Uh,
this conversation started because we were talking about vices.
yes.
And I think, yeah, that was where all this originated, right? So to recap, because I don't know if this was in the recording or not. Um, but all in all, right, like vices, depending on how you do anything, can be done with good or bad intention, can be done to either serve God or be away from Him. Um, Prime example, the one that we talked about, smoking cigars. There was a gym bro or just a bro on the internet who said smoking cigars introduces demonic spirits. If you're using with that intent, I'm not surprised that it would. Alcohol, same thing. I think the Bible specifically says, "Do not be drunken with the wine. Don't get drunk off the alcohol." But we can put the verse, somewhere later, right? But obviously, if you're drinking to get inebriated, you do lower your frequency, and you are more susceptible to things coming in. And that loosey goosey feeling that you get, like you're opening yourself up for an attack, really. So whatever you do in moderation, even food, man. You can be gluttonous with the way you eat, how much you eat, and what you're putting in, and that can be sinful. You know,
But I need food to survive, bro.
100%, 100%. But people don't eat Big Macs daily. I'm curious to see how the EPT folks. I'm curious to see how they're gonna fare.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't recorded that episode yet. Everyone is
Mhm.
seeing this episode after we put that video out. But I'm very I'm kind of nervous for it. I kind of hope the people who like truly need the help get the help that they deserve. Um
Yeah,
so I guess if you didn't get the point on Friday's episode, I'm going to hammer it in right now. Don't be going and doing something stupid. Stock up on food if you can. Don't be going out and getting into these riots. Don't pull a Kyle Rittenhouse trying to protect your neighborhood. Like that's dope, but
I
don't
hate
be
that
putting
guy so
yourself
much.
don't be putting yourself in a dangerous situation unnecessarily. I'm gonna hammer that in hard right now. Today's not today being the day we record it, but the day you're hearing this is probably like truly the last day that you can really go out and go get yourself some groceries for before like the looting and rioting potentially starts. If it hasn't started already. So just be careful out there.
Facts.
But I think it's gonna wrap us up. Remember, y'all, spiritual warfare is real. Don't get caught up in all this nonsense when you don't need to. And stay blessed. Have a beautiful rest of your Sunday.